Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. My name is Steve Smith, and I'm your host. And yes, you can probably tell that the voice is back in action, baby. Very excited. This is another exciting episode of John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens. And of course, I have something different for you yet again. But we're bringing it back to Australia, and we're not on the mainland. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as mentioned, it is John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens, and I need to let you know about their wonderful GPS sprayers, ladies and gentlemen. Now, elevate your golf course spraying experience with the John Deere ProGator GPS Precision Sprayer. Enjoy effortless operation through their auto-track guidance system, enhanced accuracy with individual nozzle control, and the assurance of improved tracking and management of your spraying tasks with their reliable Starfire receiver. You can track and manage your spraying efforts with confidence. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know you've heard me talk about these GPS sprayers. I know you've also heard me talk about it with other superintendents that I've had on the podcast. They love these GPS spray units. They are an absolute game changer in the industry, and their precision is incredible. These units increase accuracy by so much. It's just amazing. They've got a wonderful 3-cylinder liquid-cooled diesel engine that's got plenty of horses behind it with the spraying equipment to make sure that the job's getting done reliably. Their auto-track guidance system, as I mentioned, is just fantastic, but it's the individual nozzle control that is just incredible, the way that it can turn them on and off, and it maps over the entire process of the course that you're doing. And you've heard me talk about it with Terry Vogel, superintendent down at Cobram Barooga, where they've got a couple of these spray units, and it maps both of them so they don't cross over each other's work. So as he talked about it, colouring in. So you can go out there and colour in. You can do the rough areas, the wider expanse areas, and just know that nothing's going to be overlapped. It's just remarkable. It really is. See how you can make a significant difference for you and your team with this machine, the GPS spray units. Go to deere.com.au, deere.com.au, and talk to the wonderful people at John Deere and ask them for more info or even a demo where you can go and see these GPS spray units in action, because you're going to want to know more about them. I can tell you now, if you haven't got one, you really need to be asking yourself why you can't consider upgrading to one now. They are just sensational bits of kit that you need in your shed to do your job better. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy this fantastic conversation from the Apple Isle. This is episode number 113. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go somewhere we don't often go, which is really good, and we're going straight into Tasmania, where I have with me, joining me on the podcast today, is Superintendent Craig Walker from Devonport Country Club. Mate, how you doing, Craig?
Good, Steve. Thanks for having me, mate.
Mate, thank you for coming on the podcast. It's great to have you involved. And I was thinking about it. I don't know that I've done many Tasmanians. I know I did Phil Hill before his retirement there at Barnbugle, and I've got to be honest, I think that's it, apart from Matt Goggin from 7 Mile.
I think you did Sean at Royal Hobart as well. Of course. From memory. And
can't forget Sean, yes.
Yeah, he's gone now, so...
That's it. He's up in the Gold Coast where they're copping it at the moment. Hopefully everyone's safe. But, mate, great to have you flying the Tasmanian flag. I really appreciate you jumping on.
No problem at all.
Now, let's start with a bit of fun before we get stuck into a whole heap of your career, what you're up to, and the beautiful part there in northern Tasmania, and what's happening on your course there at Devonport, how it all works. Mate, we'll start off with some fun with Steve's Super 7 questions. You ready to go?
I am.
All right. Number 1, sunrise or sunset?
Definitely sunrise. I've got to be honest, I probably don't see as many sunsets as I should, but well, yeah, we start reasonably early to escape the traffic on course, so definitely sunrise in Tasmania.
Very good. Always a popular one, that's for sure. Number 2, dogs or no dogs allowed on the golf course? And we're in Tassie, so maybe look, lots of people think Tasmanians do things differently sometimes. Mate, what are your thoughts there? Not necessarily the clubs, but your own personal thoughts on this one.
Well, I'd be guilty if I said no dogs, because my dog Molly, Border Collie Golden Retriever Cross, comes with me most days.
Oh, very nice.
So she... If she doesn't come of a day, certainly a walk of a night around the course to have a bit of a look around and plan tomorrow's proceedings. So, and obviously I'm not against just golfers bringing dogs on a lead for a 9-hole, late at night. I think there's enough obstacles in the golf course world without saying why not bring the dog along and have a good time. So all 4 dogs.
Very nice, mate. I'm going to ask you in that, do you think that it's something that we could see more of potentially, clubs and courses being a little bit more open to, the family pet or the personal family member in the dogs coming out with on a lead and being not being ratty or anything like that, but just coming out and enjoying the walk?
Oh, definitely. I think golf's got a real reputation of probably being a little bit upper class and a little bit snobby, but it's been a real shift for me in the last 10 years. And I always try and press on my committees to say, instead of saying no, just ask yourself why not,
Yep.
and who's it really hurting? I mean, end of the day, the more people that are on a golf course, the better it is for greenkeepers in general. So, and I think, after COVID and the rise of golf again, it's certainly benefiting everyone across the industry. And at the end of the day, if someone wants to come out and they haven't got a collared shirt on and at 6 o'clock at night, who's it really hurting? That's my theory anyway.
That's a fair point, mate. Who's it really hurting? I think that sums it up quite easily and succinctly, doesn't it? It's sometimes we can get a little bit carried away, and even the dog thing. Like I think that there's no harm. Personally, I think it's a great thing, and maybe even if it's to certain times of the day is fine. But allowing people to do it, there's places even in Sydney where that there's pubs that allow dogs in them in the buildings now, and
yeah, that's right.
Like,
it
wow.
should be your local golf course should be a club, and it should be somewhere where people want to go, not just for golf, but just for congregation in general. And if they bring their dog or they want to come in and have a beer later, and they're not playing golf, I'm all for it.
Yep. No, good stuff, mate. Very good. Number 3, stripes or no stripes on fairways. This one's always contentious for people to consider.
Oh, pretty clear cut for me, but I don't get my say at all. So I'm not a stripes man. I'm more of a shadow cut man.
Yep.
Having said that, all 3 courses that I'm running at the moment have stripes because I actually get overruled, and it's just a battle that I don't fight with the with the staff. So they love their stripes, and look, I think it does have its place on certain courses. One of the courses we look after are Ulverston. It's really set in the bush. I just don't think stripes sort of suit that sort of course. But having said that, I went on holidays, come back, and it was all striped up, and the members loved it. So I'm actually snookered there. So as long as the boys keep the grease up to the bushings on the arms, who am I to argue?
Yeah, that's an interesting point because they're all the little things, right? Everything adds up. All these little details add up. Like you talk about, every time you do a stripe, you got to lift and turn. There's more turns, there's more lifting, more pressure on rollers, more pressure on arms, more pressure on bushes. The whole lot, right? You do that over and over and over. There's a lot going on.
You're probably lifting and lowering over 1,000 times. So, yeah, it's going, especially when you're cross-cutting. So, yeah, look, the boys can make those decisions. They don't need me to. I can certainly impress what I think, but at the end of the day, if they're taking more pride in their work, I say go for it.
Interesting, mate. Good to hear. Number 4, another one that I'm learning has got people thinking very much is painted whole lips or not painted whole lips.
Ooh, painted whole lips we do for larger tournaments, club championships, opens, state events.
Yep.
General day-to-day, we don't, but I assume if we had the staff, we would. So, painted lips is great, and I assume the painted lip thing came in for cameras and TV coverage. I think it's easy to spot the hole, but it's interesting how we just do it now.
Yep.
For the bigger tournaments.
Yeah, there you go. So for special events, very good.
Yep.
Number 5, what's your favourite grass variety, mate? And I always like talking to people from way down south in Tasmania because it is very, very different to the mainland. What is yours?
Oh, creeping beet for sure. As much as you northerners try and get your greens as good as our creeping beet, I don't think anything compares to a really good bent grass green for putting. But having said that, I'm extremely envious of Santa Ana, and would love to work with it one day. We've actually got some plans to put a Santa Ana nursery in at Devonport as a trial.
Oh, that would be interesting to see.
So that'll be happening in the next couple of years. So we've just got to secure the land up, and yeah, we're going to plan out about 10 hectares of that, hopefully. So yeah, we've done some research on Santa Ana, and probably used Sorrento as a bit of a guide as climate. I think we're about 3/4 of a degree less on average than Sorrento, and it goes quite well there. So
Yep.
we're going to trial it here in Tassie. I know UTAS Stadium have a Santa Ana wicket, but I'm not aware of a lot else down here in Tassie.
That's an interesting one that, and for people listening and they're not sure, Sorrento's up near Melbourne. It's on the mainland, but very southern part of Melbourne, down the bottom end of Port Phillip Bay and on the Mornington. And yeah, that's an interesting one. I'll be very curious to hear how your trial goes when you get to doing that in time.
Yeah, well, I think Royal Canberra, from what I've read, have just taken out a lot of their bench and put Santa Ana in. So we'll probably be touching base with them at some stage to see how that's going.
Yep, the Santa Ana fairways are going down. They're probably nearly finished, actually, all the works to putting things in, and they're growing it all in now on their fairways, and it's just mint. But the only real difference there is obviously the summertime. They get the right high temp, super high.
They do.
But they also get the extreme cold. When I chatted with Ryan there last year on Keeper of the Greens, was really good insight. But yeah, hearing about Santa Ana down with you guys there in Tassie is going to be one to watch. Very interesting, mate.
For sure.
Number 6, your preferred style of golf course. Now, not sure if you've seen these, mate, but we'll run through them. It's multiple choice. New South Wales Golf Club, which is just reopened after a renovation on the cliffs in the eastern suburbs of Sydney. Royal Adelaide, and the fantastic contrasting colours that suit Royal Adelaide so well in the driest state and the driest capital of the country. Or, I should say, Joondalup, the wild features that incorporate into the Joondalup Golf Course over in Perth, WA. Mate, what's your preferred style there?
Oh, I've got to be honest, I haven't played Joondalup. I've played the other two. I really was struck by New South Wales. I thought it was just an incredible place for a golf course, if nothing else. So, yeah, probably leaning towards that, if I'm honest. I do have a soft spot for, I know you didn't mention it, but Kingston Heath is certainly my favourite course in Australia, for sure.
Yeah, Kingston Heath it's always been a starter in past, and I've rejigged these ones for that reason, because everyone tended to go there, and I don't think
to go past it.
Look, unless I was comparing it to Cape Wickham or RM, I don't think anything could compete, and maybe that's when I got a trial. But I wanted to spread the love across the country here. So New South Wales, you're leaning towards, mate, you reckon, but Kingston Heath just shines through, even though it's not a starter.
Absolutely, for me, for sure. Any of those Melbourne sandbelt courses, it's hard to build a bad course down there, I think.
Very true, mate. Good stuff. And number 7, mate, the final one, always of interest to give us potentially something we've never heard of a look into. Which golf course in Australia would you like to visit tomorrow, and why? And that could be one you've never seen, one you love to see, or one that might be nostalgic you haven't seen for a very long time.
So I'll give you a couple of answers. I think I haven't been to Cape Wickham yet, so would love to go to Cape Wickham. But one from left field, I have a real soft spot for Lanherne Golf Club, which I know that you are aware of.
Yes, indeed.
For just a good, quick 9 holes of golf on a course that's nice and flat and in excellent condition, I think Lanherne Golf Club is certainly a standout for me as far as 9-hole golf courses. And Tommy down there, Tommy North, who you know, he's left there now. It's just a really undiscovered little gem, and I think if anyone's down there in Hobart, I think they could well and truly just head out for a couple of hours and have a look at that little course.
Mate, it's a great mention. It is an absolute ripper. Honestly, I couldn't agree with you more, and I've said this before. And I go back through the photos that I took when Tom took me around. It, like you say, understated, but just such a great little golf course. Very, very well done. Great little design. Great features in a beautiful landscape, and just punches above its weight from nowhere.
huge greens, and they've actually really got a good section in the market down there, because if you don't want to join a big 18-hole club and pay that membership, you can join Lanherne and have probably some of the best conditions of anywhere in Tassie for, a fraction of the price. It's a great little track.
No, mate, it is. It is very much so. Well said, Craig.
I'm hoping I get some free green fees out of that when I'm down there. But anyway,
well, if nothing else, we'll certainly put them on the map too. So there you go, mate. That's Steve Super 7. Thank you so much, Craig. A great little insight there into some of your thoughts, which people will compare with their own. Great stuff.
All good.
Now, mate, this is the main part of the conversation and where we really get stuck into your career and a lot of what you've been through in your time as a professional greenkeeper and we want to dig into a lot of Devonport, which I certainly don't know anything about, and I'm sure a lot of the people listening also don't. So we're looking to get a really good insight into what you touched on before, a couple of other courses which we'll go to that you also maintain. But, mate, if you will, please take us to how you got into the career of greenkeeping. Where did it come from for you, and then lead us through your career to where you got to today at Devonport, please.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all through school, I studied accountancy, law, economics, and that was going to be what I was going to be. I was going to be an accountant.
I can see exactly how you got into greenkeeping from that point, mate. It's fantastic.
Did a year correspondence uni at Deakin University, and then I took up golf reasonably late. I think I went to a PE lesson in grade 10 and was actually playing the first hole at Ulverston where I look after, and I holed my fourth or fifth shot, I think it was, and I never stopped playing golf since.
Oh, wow.
And anyway, I sort of come to the conclusion that office life wasn't for me. Had a bit of a passion for the outdoors, or developed a passion for the outdoors. So I thought, why not combine the two? I really like golf, and I actually just went up to the superintendent at Ulverston at the time, Wayne Porter, and I knew the apprentice that was there before me, who was Ben Norton-Smith, who's now at Foster Congaree. I knew he was leaving, and I just went up and I said to Wayne, I said, look, I'm really interested. What's the chances of just coming and doing some casual work or a trial for the apprenticeship? And he said, this was a Friday, and he said, yep, sure, come in on Monday. And
Johnny on the spot.
Yeah, so it sort of started from there, and just did a week, and he was reasonably happy with what I did, and so signed up for an apprenticeship there. Did 4 years at Ulverston, and
wow,
hang around for another 2, and we had the Australian team series in 2000 or 2001. I'm not great on dates, so bear with me. So that was sort of the swan song, and I thought, that'll do, man. It's time to spread my wings, and I'd met a girl in Hobart, so I decided to apply for some jobs in Hobart, and was lucky enough to get the position as super at Pittwater Golf Club, which was sort of very close to Tasmania Golf Club and Lanherne, as we mentioned.
Oh, yep, that's just sort of the east of Hobart City. Is that right? Near the airport way?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, for sure. You can actually see Tasmania from the course. So they'd sort of gone through a bit of it. They were a really rough country track, but they'd come onto the Penn irrigation scheme, and they'd always had just non-skilled labourers there, and they decided with the recycled water that they needed a qualified person, and there's a little bit more to it. So I was lucky to get it there, and it was just that I was so lucky to have that job, because I went there, they had plenty of money. It was really rough. It was capeweed everywhere. The greens had a good base, but were no good.
Yep.
And they just said, whatever it takes, we want you to turn us into one of the best 9 holes in the state. And
wow.
And I'd been just out of my apprenticeship, thought I knew it all, and realised that I knew nothing after about a week.
Don't you love that feeling when you come in bushy-tailed and wide-eyed and bright-eyed, and you just go, I've got this, and then after a couple of days you're like, I've got no idea.
Yeah, I only knew what I knew and what I'd been taught, and I thought that's how every golf club operated. We all had the same irrigation system, and we all had the same mowers, but it's that first 2 years was really rewarding. I had a really good president there who owned his own building business and all these bobcats and excavators, and you'd never get away with it now, but we would just be putting a drain in, and we'd say, well, how about we put a bunker in here, and the players would turn up on Saturday, and there'd be a new bunker in front of a par three, and no one ever complained. They could just see the track we were on, and I mean, nowadays you have to go through 5 committees and the course architect to do that stuff, rightfully so, on a good course. But yeah, so we were just trying to get that better, and I think it was the first 9-hole course in the state to hold the Thine Trophy, which is a sectional state event, north versus south, and yeah, we had it really smick. It was it come up a treat.
That's gold.
I mean, yeah, so that took. I was there for best part of 5 to 6 years, and sort of had gone as far as we could there. We had it really nice, and I was approached by Chris Hay, who's now track manager at Elwick Racecourse. He just won the Sports Turf Services award last year at the AGCSA conference.
Yeah, right.
He decided, he was at Kingston Beach at the time, as superintendent there, and he approached me. He was going to go out on his own as a contracting business, so decided to take the plunge there, and went with Chris. Pittwater come on board with us as well, so we looked after a few little golf courses down there. Huon Valley was one, and sort of where I first dipped my toes into bowling greens and croquet. We had a couple of contracts there for Sandy Bay Bowls Club and a little one called Berrydale Bowls Club. So that was where I sort of cut my teeth on bowling greens, because I hadn't had any experience with that. We had another couple of staff, and sort of my first taste of teaching apprentices there.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also we started a renovation business. So Chris bought a core, a top dresser, and harvester, and away we went. So I did the majority of that around the state.
Wow.
It was really enjoyable.
That's a lot of changes and additions to your repertoire, mate. You go from golf and adding bowls and renos and all sorts of contracting work is different again to being just employed on a golf course and working for one course. As you're moving around and lots of travel, and there's a lot in that, mate. That's a big change.
It was a good learning experience, and I'd really only worked under the one boss at Ulverston, and to work under Chris, whose knowledge is, everyone knows, is pretty first class down here in Tassie. He's got a good reputation. Really, really set me up. So I was with him for the best part of 5 years, and probably had a little bit of burnout, I reckon. So sort of I was looking to get back into like an 18-hole course, but the thing about Tassie's, there's not many 18-hole courses. I had Steve Lewis at Royal Hobart and Danny Gilligan at Tasmania, and I thought these guys are not going anywhere in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And I was at the crossroads really, and sort of in the meantime, I've been my wife, her father was a builder, and we'd been building houses and selling in the meantime, and sort of just in the spare time, I was doing a lot of tiling. I actually went out and started my own tiling business. So I left greenkeeping for 5 years and ran a tiling business. So
did you have any downtime anywhere in all of them? Talk about workload.
I actually didn't have a spare 5 minutes, and I actually gave up golf, which is probably one of my biggest regrets. I gave up golf for 7 years, and and didn't play. We just we had a good life, and
sure
did a lot of fishing and that. But in the end, I came up to Ulverston, back to where I lived for a weekend, visit my parents, and my wife said to me, she goes, I don't want to go back home. So moving from one end to the state back up to the other, and so we settled in up here, and I'd heard whispers that Devonport Country, or Devonport Golf Club it was at the time, were going to have a merger with the Devonport Bowls Club and Sprayton Bowls Club. So 2 bowls clubs and then Devonport Croquet Club. So they had some spare land out at the golf club site, and they got some funding, $11 million from the government, to merge the 3 sports clubs into one. So I knew this was coming up, and I thought, wow, this is something, I can't be on my knees tiling for the rest of my life. It's killing me.
Yep.
So I thought this is something that's really lit a fire inside, and I was lucky enough to get that job, and it wasn't straightforward. Like it was a pretty good job. So there was a few applicants, but in the end, I was lucky enough to get that, and I started Devonport Country Club in 2019 June.
Wow, that's huge. And mate, there's lots in your career there, lots of different parts.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
that's huge. You got a wealth of experience in many different aspects of greenkeeping, along with work and business there. And you went to contracting and working in that realm, and then also running your own tiling business separate to greenkeeping. There's something in that too to learn how to run a business just the same and make that successful, not just for a flash in the pan. Mate, congratulations! What a career.
Yeah, for sure. I think that some of those skills, especially the contracting and the tiling, I certainly use a lot of those skills today. I suppose we'll get onto that later about how we
Yep.
run Devonport, but yeah, for sure. And to have, for those that don't know, Devonport, it was an 18-hole golf course, a Morecambe designed one. So
Okay.
when they did the development, knocked the old clubhouse down and built a new one, and it's got 3 outdoor bowls greens and an international standard indoor green, 2 croquet lawns, and
Wow.
and they did an irrigation redevelopment as well. So went fully automated redevelopment as well. So yeah, it was, and that's sort of where I came in about halfway through it. So the irrigation was probably a third finished. The bowling greens had just been constructed, were not quite at growing stage yet. I think the first week I was there, they might have been sown with Pencross. So
Yep.
it was straight into the fire. So it was, and actually had doubted myself a little bit about being out of the game for 5 years. But as you do, you bluff your way through it, and we come out the other side pretty good.
Mate, that's huge. One of the things I want to pick up on there, mate, is a couple of different things that what's it like, and I've heard this from other supers, but never really picked their brains about it so much, particularly. Um, Being in golf greenkeeping is probably your core. That's how you started. That's what you know most. Going into bowls, because bowls is it's very detailed in one type of growing of grass, if that makes sense for people who aren't greenies, I suppose. Um, just a small space, very detailed, eyes on every little thing there. The ones who bowl regularly, the professionals who bowl, they're going to pick up on anything in that any blemish. What's that like working on in that detail coming from golf, like going 2 bowls?
Yeah, you summed it up spot on. Actually, it's look. I don't say it's harder, but it is certainly. It requires a lot more management and a lot more observation. They're very, very picky. Tracking is their favourite word. If you've got a
Okay.
tracky green, which means that it's just sitting out, not taking the bias.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
if you're in doubt on a golf course, you're getting a dry patch. You can put a little bit extra water on it.
Yep.
It's the worst thing you can do for a bowls green, because if they turn up, they'll walk straight off. They'll book 3 bowls down. They'll walk straight off the green. It's too heavy. They won't bowl on it, and they'll go to the indoor centre.
Oh, dead set.
Uh, anything. They time it in seconds, as most people would know, and anything under 12 seconds they're not happy with. They like it around 15, 16 seconds. So it's certainly it is very hard trade, and I have great respect for even a lot of the volunteers around the country that are managing bowls greens. You've just got to be on them every day. They require a lot of work, a lot of rolling, and in Tassie, and I think a few in Victoria, we just say we manage their death,
Yeah.
because
Right.
we sort of get them up over the winter. We overseed obviously in autumn, and look after them in winter, and then August comes around, and we're throwing the fertilizer on them and getting them up. But once you open, you're really limited with what you can use on them. Obviously, granulars are out.
Yep.
There's no top dressing. What you've got at the start of the season is what you've got to work with.
Right.
There's no improvement once they start bowling. Your greens it's very hard to get any improvement out of them. They only go backwards till the close of the season. Down
Wow.
here, of course, I'm talking on bent grass down here.
Yeah, down in Tassie, yep.
Yeah, so you really got to have all your ducks in a row for your renovations in autumn for sure, and just the firmness in them is incredible. How firm they have to be to run so well, and you're always taking a lot of grass out of them.
Wow.
The less grass on them, the better they roll. So yeah, a lot of little tricks. I'm lucky on the staff. I've got a Premier League bowler, and I thought I was going okay, but he's sort of giving me that bowler's perspective, and then he's more about the finish on the bowling green. They're always talking about finish on them, so that shine.
Yep.
And when you get that finish, they're running well. So I love bowling greens. I could do them full time. If maybe when I get old and I'm over 60, I might just look after a couple of bowling greens because it's really rewarding work. And probably the only downside is when you have 130 bowlers or something there. There's no getting away from them like on a golf course. You're right there and you're talking to all of them. So feedback is not an issue.
Yeah, wow, there you go. Like I said, I know zero about bowling greens. I know zero about bowls, and I think I've only done it once in my life. And it's just thinking about what might occur because of the way you're on it so closely all the time, like you just detailed. The feedback's there, everyone's on it, and it's full on. In reverse, then I'll ask you as well, mate, what's it like being able to do that level of detail, and then you're looking after golf with that experience? Does that help you in any way? Because I know that there's some people that have gone from golf to bowls, then back to golf, or bowls to golf, and that sort of stuff. Is it helpful in reverse?
Certainly helped my greenkeeping as far as golf goes, for sure. I was probably always a little bit safe, and bowls greens have just shown me how close you can take golf greens really to the edge, and if you need to. The bent down here was a lot more hardy than I give it credit for, to be honest. You'd see a little bit of discolouring on a golf green, and you'd be panicking a little bit. But when you see a bowls green running 16, 17, 18 seconds and it's white, and then realising you can bring that back and not to panic, it's sort of. Yeah, it's a little bit reassuring, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting. In pushing the grass in a different way for a different reason. There you go, mate. I just wanted to pick your brains on that one because, like I said, I've never done it before, and I thought it was interesting, and probably lends itself a little bit better for the climate as well. Like you say, bent grass greens. I know when we get up New South Wales and we head north, it's all couch grass bowling greens and that sort of thing too. So
absolutely. And the bent certainly doesn't wear as good from what I see as the couch grass in Queensland, and especially early on in the season. I know this year, later in November, we've got the Australian Championships down at Devonport on the bowling greens, and it'll be a real test because we've got 3 weeks of bowling every day from 8:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night. So there's no rest day. So it'll be interesting to see how the greens hold up coming into Christmas and then going forward for finals after Christmas. So it'll be a test for us, but it'll be something different, that's for sure.
There you go. Mate, interesting, you touched on a couple of the 9-holers, Pittwater you worked at, Ulverston as well, and this is from a Tasmanian perspective. I want to ask a little bit. I've heard through one of my followers, Tony Ellis, the nomadic golfer. He's on Instagram and he's travelled the country over a number of years and playing golf courses all over Australia, everywhere, by travelling by caravan. But he mentioned to me when he was in Tassie, I think you guys have many more 9-hole golf courses than you have 18-hole golf courses. Is that right?
Yeah, that would be right. There's certainly a Tassie flavour where every little town needs to have a golf course for some reason. And sometimes that can be to the detriment of the bigger clubs. So there's some really good little 9-holers in the state. There's certainly up this way. I know Wynyard, Stanley and Thurleston Golf Club, if anyone ever gets a chance to head out to Thurleston. That's a volunteer-run club. A mate of mine does a little bit of consulting out there, but there is never a blade of grass out of place on that. They get about 30 volunteers, I think, every Monday, and they come back during the week. So You could spend weeks here just travelling around doing the 9-holers for sure.
There you go. Very interesting. Lots of differences down there, and I don't know. I've never been to Scotland, and only ever been to Tassie twice now when I went to Barnbugle and then Hobart. But it's the climate is kind of similar to the British Isles, I believe, in that it doesn't get too hot in summer for too long, and you get a lot more cooler days throughout the year, obviously in general, hence the cool season bent grass in a lot of areas, and I think that's a little bit of the flavour. I don't know why so many 9-holers, but maybe that lends itself to so many golf courses.
Yeah, probably. You might be right there. I know everyone thinks it's fairly cold down here, and it probably is to mainlanders. But if like where I live on the northwest coast in Ulverston, we're reasonably warm beside the water. It's when you get inland that you can have a little bit of trouble with frost and that.
Okay. Yeah, right.
So,
okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're averaging, I think this week we're averaging 25, 26, so not too bad.
Oh, that's very good. Very comfortable. I was thinking like it'd struggle to make 20 in the middle of summer.
Well, on the flip side, we did have about 13 frosts in a row a couple of winters ago, so don't let the winter fool you, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Very good, mate. Well, again, fantastic insight into your career and how you got into it and all the way to Devonport. Now, let's talk a little bit about Devonport, mate, if we can. And you touched on the fact that it was a couple of clubs that merged together. That's probably something we see more of in modern times, where you get a couple of clubs that are struggling, be it one. And I'll talk about Cobram Barooga because I was there not long ago where Cobram Barooga Golf Club was struggling, but the Sporties was doing really well, and they decided to merge. And you've got this incredible golf and club facility now that's just punching so well above its weight, and their investment into the golf course and the club and the local area and everything that they do has created this wonderful facility, and the investment into the golf courses shows, and the way that they're moving forward. It sounds like at Devonport Country Club, you've got that multiple sports, great investment, lots of people being involved and active in the club from the membership base and the local community. It sounds like a really promising club that's doing really well. Is that probably how it's sort of begun to evolve already so quickly since the merger?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I think the club's still trying to find its feet a little bit financial-wise, and when you merge a club like that and an $11 million redevelopment, I think it costs a lot of money to run the actual clubhouse itself.
Yeah, okay.
So while we're going well, there's still a lot of things we're trying to improve, and I think that the main reason for the merger of the clubs was to attract government money. Governments are a lot more willing to part with their money, or our money, I should say, if we're seen to be centralising services. Yeah, and I think that's where the bonus was. I mean, Devonport Bowls Croquet Club was in a prime bit of real estate right in the middle of Devonport, and we all know how they like to get their hands on those and develop them for inner city living. So it worked quite well, and Sprayton's probably the fastest growing suburb of Devonport, and to relocate out there to the golf club was a good move for sure. And there's some challenges there as far as Devonport's concerned, but it's certainly improved all facilities for all sports. That's for sure.
Cool.
Like the croquet. When we went down to the croquet to give them a hand down there. There's flat weeds in the green in their lawns, and they were mowed at 10 mil. Now they're playing on, 3.5, 4 mil surfaces.
Wow.
Attracting state events, and I think that was the main key for the formation of the country club, was to attract international or at least national sporting events. So as I said, we got them bowling championships in November. We've had, a few Tassie amateur golf titles there, and we'll have the Tassie Open in the next 5 years for a couple of years, I would assume.
Wow, that's great.
So it certainly paid dividends in that respect, and that was the whole idea of it, to give somewhere on the northwest coast of Tassie that real national exposure.
Yeah, no, very good, mate, very good. Now, can you tell us a little bit about the golf course, mate, that you look after there? It's 18 holes at Devonport, and a little bit about how big it is, what it's like, grass surfaces. Can you, let us know a little bit more?
Yeah, so mostly rye, power fairways, bent grass greens. So we have just under a hectare of greens. So I think we were sitting around 48 bunkers at the moment. We actually had Graham Grant come down at the time of the redevelopment, and we've got a master plan that we work to.
Yep.
Haven't got a long way through that. We have filled in some bunkers that were out of play with modern technology, just to more of a labour saving exercise. So we're not looking after bunkers that are out of play. Because when I came there, they had two staff on
Right.
18 holes with nearly 50 bunkers. So
Two
wasn't
staff.
two staff. So now we average at Devonport, because of the external contracts. We move staff around on a needs be basis, but we average at Devonport, around four and a half staff per day now. But that also includes the bowls greens and the croquet as well.
Wow.
And we've got, I've got a total of 10 staff on hand between that and everything else we do.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, Devonport certainly a very nice little track, and much along the same lines in construction wise as Royal Hobart.
Okay.
So obviously both Morecambe designs, and very similar bunkering, and but yeah, you certainly got a master plan to work to over the next 10 years. I think we're adding another 33 bunkers, filling in some, and redesigning some tee and green complexes.
Yeah, okay. Okay. That's good.
Yeah,
Good bit of
yeah.
construction to be moving through and improving the golf course along the way.
Yeah, I think it's important to have a master plan, and have something to work to. I mean, all our preliminary works and tree removal sort of working quite nicely. Whatever we do is always gauged to that master plan, and that's the end goal. So, as finances permit, we'll get stuck into it and keep going with it.
Absolutely. So, a cool season golf course overall, being in Tasmania. Rye, Poa fairways. What are your greens made up of, mate, in your tees?
Yeah, yeah, predominantly bent. We'd be sitting around 90% bent at the moment. We've got a rye fescue blend on tees,
Okay.
and nearly all cool season. We do have a lot of Kikuyu encroaching, so you wouldn't think Kikuyu would thrive so much in Tassie, but when it gets a hold, it is
It's a brutal
yeah,
grass.
it's
It's
it's a
just
beast.
it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like nothing. It's the grass that I'm not a fan of. I've
No,
seen it. I've seen it with Primo in Sydney, and it looks almost like cooch. It's
yeah.
incredible the way they can bring the size of the plant down. But it's a very coarse grass, but it's a necessary evil in many parts of the country. But it's strange that, yeah, like you say, but it's such a tough grass. It adapts so well.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's going quite well at Devonport. I know our 12th fairway is probably our best fairway on the course, and that is Kike. But yeah, eventually Santa Ana is the main aim. Eventually, if the trial goes to plan, which hopefully it does, and our other course, one of the other courses we look after, Ulverston, is predominantly a native cooch.
Okay.
And built on virtually a gravel pit, and that goes quite well there. So warm season grasses will be more the norm than anything, I think, coming in the future in Tasmania.
Yeah, wow, there you go. Now, your course is bordered into the north, I think, by the Mersey River. Mersey River? Is that how you
Yeah,
pronounce
that's
it?
it. That's
Um,
correct.
and is that a feature at all in and around those edges of the golf course? I just looked at it on Google Earth the other day, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Is it?
Yeah,
Is
it
it?
doesn't encroach on the course at all, but it is a backdrop to probably 3 or 4 holes. You just
Okay.
look out and see the river, and our water supply is actually from Fonterra, a milk business. So the condensate from the milk factory is what we water our
Wow.
fairways and greens with. So
Really? How
they
do you?
su- they, su- they supply us around 65 megalitres a year to use there.
Dead set. That's cool. So, is that something that you store on site somewhere, or is it just a live feed?
Yeah, so they have a 30 megalitre dam. We have a 12 megalitre dam, and then the rest is made up of just the usage as we go along through the year. So it's at 65 megalitres doesn't sound a great deal, but it does do us quite well. Sometimes during autumn we may run a little bit scarily close to being out, but we sort of get through.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. And what are your soil types down there on the riverside, mate? What's it like? Is it heavy?
Yeah, we've got some nice sandy loam there. It's actually really
Oh, wow.
free draining for the most, and then we have like a clay underbase, which can sort of present a few problems when the water goes through the sandy and it run on top of the clay and come up in some specific areas in the course, which are always a bit of a battle, but with a bit of drainage and yeah, we're hoping we can get on top of those areas. We have one area in particular that causes a few headaches and in the end, I sort of bit the bullet and spent a fair bit of money there, and we're just coming out the back end of that now and thinking we might have solved a few issues there, hopefully. So that'll make the membership a bit happier and help me sleep at night a little bit more.
Those things do help. It's,
We don't really we don't really have that high a rainfall. We've been averaging under a metre of rain a year lately. So I mean that's probably one of the things that people don't understand. We have a lot of wet days, but we don't have a lot of rain. I know when I was down at Pittwater, we were well under 600 millimetres a year.
and
I think Adelaide was the driest capital, and Hobart was the second driest.
it's a funny thing that we, certainly East Coasters, and I say East Coasters from probably Sydney North or anywhere up on the East Coast for that matter of the mainland, it's a really weird concept to believe that, because we often hear, I talk about the weather, is that Tassie gets, and you said it so perfectly, you have a lot more rainy days but not as much rain in total. And it also probably factors in with the overall temperatures on average. So because it doesn't get as hot, you probably don't need as much either. But still, there's a difference there in the east of the Tasmanian island itself and the west, isn't there? So like you mentioned, Hobart
Massive.
has less, and over in the east, I think it's Strawn is how you pronounce it. I always used to pronounce it Strahan, but I think it's Strawn, is really high in rainfall on the west side.
Strawn's on the west. Yeah, I think there was a statistic going around at Queenstown, which is only a few kilometres from Strawn. Back here a couple of years ago, they had 300 days of registered rainfall for the year. So,
That is wild.
I actually did some renovation down there last week, and it was stinking hot. It's the first time I've ever been down there and not had to wear a jumper.
Yeah, right.
So it was, but yeah, it gets very warm down there. It can do, but for very limited times of the year. Beautiful spot though, if anyone wants to go there.
Yeah, I've heard so much about that. Well, and that's all your wilderness areas as well, really, on the island, isn't it, the west side?
Yeah, it is wilderness. And then when you drive into Queenstown and there's not a tree on those bare hills, you think you're in another world.
So many different landscapes, but the around overall in Tassie as well. But the rainfall is a really interesting statistic from a greenkeeping perspective that unless you've been down there or you know it well enough, we don't really understand that it is quite dry. And sometimes I've heard some challenges recently with 7 Mile Beach and Royal Hobart with the rain, lack thereof, that they're struggling at times just because it doesn't get the rain that they would need at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certainly a lot of rain shadows down here, and you go up into the highlands and it rains non-stop, and that's where obviously all the hydro storage is up there. But yeah, anything on the east coast, southeast especially, even at Hobart when I was living down there, different sides of the river. There was a bit of I think that reason they built Bellerive Oval on the east side is because of the difference in rainfall between one side of the river and the other, just by the fact that the mountain attracts all the rain on that side.
Fair dinkum. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, no, certainly very, very dry and very dry here at the moment. We haven't had any significant rain for a few months, and yeah, the whole place is just white at the moment.
Yeah, right. And in terms of maintenance, you touched on before, you're bouncing around 4.5 staff on average there in at Devonport. Does that change for the seasons as you? I assume it does. You got less.
Yeah, look, I did these numbers last week actually, because while we have 10 on staff and we have 2.3 at Ulverston, we have 1 at Portsmouth, 1 at Latrobe. These are our other areas. Then we have renovations. We still have to cover, because the boys work for toil. They don't have overtime. They prefer toil and have time off. And then TAFE, obviously, with 5 or 6 apprentices. And then we have holidays. Yeah, it cuts into our core. So while we have 10 on staff, yeah, between 4 and 5 is what we get by with at Devonport. So, Yeah, just depends on renovation season, how much coring we're doing. So we try and cover most of the north of the state. If we're away coring, I'll usually take one of the young fellas with me. So two of us gone, spring and autumn, we could be up to 2 or 3 jobs a week.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Mate, you touched on there. Tell us a little bit about, because you don't just look after Devonport Country Club and all the turf surfaces there. You do other areas. Tell us a little bit about some of those other places that you look after.
Yeah, so we touched on my little dabble into accountancy early on and renovation. I sort of combined those skills with money being reasonably tight at the country club. We sort of dabbled on. We were approached by Ulverston Golf Club first, and
Yep.
we had a little bit of arrangement where we bought some renovation gear. We went in halves with Ulverston. So Ulverston being my home club, Devonport being where I am employed. So sort of done a bit of a deal there to go halves in coring gear, share that around. And Isaac Jones was the superintendent there at the time. He left and he went to Devonport Council, and he was councilised, as I say. So Ulverston approached Devonport, obviously with me there, and said, "Look, are you interested in a contract agreement where Devonport Country Club looks after the Ulverston Golf Course, which is for those that haven't been to Ulverston, it's a fantastic track. It's 18-hole championship. Was in the top 100 in the 90s, I think, before all the new courses got. And it's, I think the saying is Tasmania's best kept secret, and it's. I'm obviously biased because I love the place there, and so they were approached Devonport, and we come to an agreement, and we absorbed one of their staff into ours. So we contract there for, I think it's 80 hours a week, and I do 10.
Okay.
So 90 hours a week to look after that. It's not a real high maintenance course because it's very tree lined. It's held numerous Tassie Opens and interstate series. So
wow,
very, very, very nice bent grass greens and just something really different. It's got 100-foot rough, they call it, because every fairway is lined with eucalypt trees. So so we look after that one, and then
sorry, mate. Before you go any further, whereabouts is Ulverston relative to Devonport?
15 minutes west.
Oh, okay. So we're heading west. Okay, righto, gotcha.
Yeah, so which works out well because that's where I live as well. So
it's close to Devonport anyway, just the same. Also, where you live too.
Absolutely. So we have we have a foreman at each club. So the staff that come on board from there, Kobe, he's sort of my foreman there, and we have a third-year apprentice there as well, and that's usually where I walk the dog. I spend a fair bit of time there as well, so I really enjoyed up there. Going down the track another 12 months, Port Sorell Country Club, which is a little 9-holer, 15 minutes the other side of Devonport.
Okay.
They approached us, heard what we were doing at Ulverston, and come to us and said, "Look, we're short on greenkeepers. We can't find anyone. Could we enter into a similar arrangement with Devonport Country Club?" And so we came to terms there, and so we have just one 38-hour week, one qualified employee out there.
Okay.
So that was, and then again, another 6 months later, Latrobe Bowls Club approached us, and so we signed them on as well.
Wow.
So yeah, quite busy. So grew our staff reasonably quickly. Probably one of the benefits of it, though, is all our staff that are working for us now have come through as apprentices.
Oh, okay, that's very good.
So we retain. It allowed us to retain all that work we'd put into the apprentices. So
sure.
I've got virtually 3 foremen that are all, they were all 16 when they started. I've seen them have their first girlfriend, their first car, and whatever else. So they're
watch them all grow up and mature, mate.
Absolutely, and pull my hair out at some stages, but very, very rewarding when you see them doing what they're doing now. And yeah, obviously the renovation is a thing. I like to do that. I like to get around, have a bit of a look around, see what's happening around the state. It's very good networking as well. And overall, I think last year we brought in a little bit over $200,000 for the country club
Wow.
profit.
Wow.
And this year we have put in a new irrigation system at Ulverston. We did that in-house. So great learning experience for the boys. Government grant $500,000, and Ulverston topped that up, and we had that in the ground and operative within 14 weeks of starting. So um, sort of a win-win for Ulverston, because they couldn't afford to obviously get an external contractor over from the mainland. It was just out of their financial reach.
Yep.
So we come to terms, and we decided to do it in-house through Devonport Country Club. They made a profit, and Ulverston got a fully automated system, and yeah, everyone was a winner really, and you can see the difference in the course already.
That's fantastic. What a great improvement for Ulverston. And also, like you said, the experience for the staff to be able to do that. I'm thinking from the staff perspective, like you said, that a lot of them have been apprentices that you've been able to grow and train and get them up to speed throughout within Devonport Country Club and those other couple of clubs. What's that like? Is that good experience to be able to offer something like that to apprentices? Because there's not many places that can do that.
No, that's right. I think actually Marcus from Blunston Arena sent a couple of his apprentices up for a week to just give us a hand and learn the ropes. But what I'm finding now is obviously things don't always go to plan, and you'll have a leak, or you might have a sprinkler stay on. The boys that worked on it can actually just fix it themselves. They don't need any guidance because they put the thing in.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's really good. I should say I had ex-superintendent of Devonport Golf Club. He's on my staff now, Stu Mathewson. He was there for quite a few years in the early 2000s. He was very handy man to have. He's a bit of an irrigation guru, and he helped as well. He was sort of my foreman on the ground there with the boys. So yeah, it made it quite an easy job, to be honest. There wasn't too many hiccups. The ground's very hard there, being on gravel, but yeah, as I said, 14 weeks was quite a good accomplishment. And I mean, one of the hardest things about it was we had to work backwards. We didn't work from the pump shed out. We started at the greens and worked the way in, because yeah, we just wanted to make sure we had those greens going by the time spring come around. I do remember we did the quote, and I thought, oh, that'll never come to anything. And I was actually, I know Latrobe, who we looked after, got a synthetic green. They got their notification as an email. And I rang the Ulverston course manager and I said, have you checked your emails? And she said no, and I was on the phone to her when she opened it, and she said we got $500,000 grant, and
wow,
she was very happy, and I was shitting myself. But anyway,
let's go.
We got there in the end. So yeah, it was just really bad timing. Like, we didn't get the notification till June, and I really wanted to start the project in April if we could, but all worked out all well in the end.
Very good, mate. What's that like for yourself personally, the feeling of seeing Ulverston, because you mentioned it's your home track, you've got lots of history there, you're now looking after the golf course under the umbrella that you're in. What's it like thinking about it nostalgically that you've seen Ulverston get in this full course irrigation system and take it to another level again?
Yeah, I really don't think I think the members just thought, oh, yep, well, Craig will do that. We'll fix that. No worries at all. And if I'm honest, I might have bluffed my way through a little bit of it, and it was just sort of a suck it and see. But I mean, it's right in the middle of bush, Ulverston, and they have a lot of vermin, wallaby, and that eating grass, and it's not really well known for its surfaces. During the winter, and that they get chewed down really tight. But at the moment, the cooch is growing and there's grass everywhere, and you can really see the difference. And I can't wait until we have a full season next season to really make a difference. And it's really brought it up to, a modern standard that it should be.
That's fantastic, mate. Really good to hear, and certainly for anyone travelling down, we've got to put these courses on your must playlist now. They were the best unknown courses, mate, but they're now the names out there.
Yeah. Look, they really they're certainly as good as anything in Tassie. Like there's some really good courses now, and Tasmanian golf's just come along in leaps and bounds. Everyone knows about the Barnbougles and King Island and what's happening in Hobart at the moment, with 7 miles. So we've also got Armend. Hopefully that gets over the line. I'm not sure. I haven't heard much about that lately, but it's certainly booming. You also got the work at the casino, Launceston Country Club. So that's a phenomenal bit of work there, what they've done.
There's, mate, you've hit that really well on the head there, the nail, because I wonder, and maybe it's a question to you as a Tasmanian, have those other courses lifted the understanding and the potential eyes to look at elsewhere around Tasmania for golf? Because we hear about, those main courses you mentioned, Barnbougle, of course, and King Island, and now into 7 Mile, and they're going to build their second golf course. And I can add to you to Armend, because I've got it on good authority that they're soon to start the next stage of works to get the pipeline for water to the golf course. So they're still moving along, which is great to hear. So is that sort of something that's going to allow? We know about Ratho Farm, of course, from a historical perspective. Are those getting more people interested in Tasmanian golf? Is that helping? Have you had much of that come down for Devonport?
Absolutely. Devonport, yeah, definitely. Obviously not so much. It sort of flies under the radar a little bit, unfortunately. But certainly in the 2000s when Barnbougle first opened, you could tell the difference with the traffic on the course. Can't wait for 7 Mile and hopefully 5 Mile to open. And I don't know if anyone knows of Armend or if you've been on site, Steve, but that's just the most magic bit of real estate in Tasmania. It's as long as you get it on a good day when the southerly wind isn't blowing, it'll be right up there with everything else that they've built, I hope.
Honestly, I could say that I have been there on site, because when I went down to 7 Mile, did the day trip from Sydney to Hobart, I got a last minute chance to go and have a look at Armend on site and be taken for a drive around. Mate, my jaw was on the floor. I had no idea that's what it was.
Yeah, no, it's sensational. It is. You won't find that land ever again in Tasmania, I wouldn't have thought. So, and you can see the Hobart Casino from the end of it. You're looking straight across at it.
Well, there was talk about a possible one day, like a ferry ride across from Hobart to Armend potentially, and it's an OCM design now that they've got OCM involved. So there's lots of positives to the Armend story. That's like you said. Hopefully they keep going. As far as I've heard, just recently, in the last week, that everything's still moving forward to hopefully start work towards the end of the year on site. But all of those things combined, I think, is really shining the light on Tassie, and it sounds like it has actually converted. It is converting quite well, and we might one day see the Ulverstons a little bit more busy, for better or worse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think the government has now seen the benefit, and to be honest, it all started with, your Richard Sattlers from Barnbougle and your Greg Ramsays from Ratho.
Yeah,
they had the vision early, in the 90s that Tasmania could be a golfing destination, and it certainly is now. We're seeing more and more golf trips coming down this way.
Great to hear, mate. Fantastic stuff. Mate, I want to touch on the idea of the challenge of getting staff in the greenkeeping industry. And this is something I've talked to people from time to time on the podcast, because I really like to try and understand it from different corners of Australia. You did mention it there, that one of the courses that you look after, I can't remember the name of it, mate, so forgive me, that they were struggling with getting greenkeeping staff. We hear about it over and over again in general. You've got a broader group under the umbrella of Devonport that are maintaining other golf courses, as discussed, and that you're doing renovation work. Is there a challenge still, not just locally with you, but also what you're hearing in Tassie there, to get staff into greenkeeping? It's one of the things I like to talk about as a greenkeeper, but we're finding it difficult in a lot of other places. Is it the same where you are?
Well, I think I went through the turf vacancies for Tasmania the other week, and there was 25 positions, and we're not a big state, so
wow.
It sort of goes in waves for me. I haven't really struggled for staff because I only really employ apprentices straight out of college, and it's usually one of the boys knows someone
Yep.
that wants a bit of a chance. And I mean, we have a little bit of natural attrition, of course, but it's certainly a problem. I think our main opposition, as far, if you like, for want of a better
Yeah.
word, was councils, and as silly as it sounds, the National Disability Scheme is having an impact on a lot of people are going that way.
In what way
Work,
there, do you mean?
well, it's really good money, and especially with also have a little bit to do with the hospitality staff in the clubhouse.
Yeah, okay.
We have a huge, they can go there. It's not. I don't want to say it's unskilled, but it's certainly not a trade.
Yep.
And they can sign up and be a disability carer, in a reasonably short time and earn really good money. So we compete with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, having said that, the kids straight out of school that we like to build on the industry. There's a massive skill shortage, and we like to churn some apprentices through and keep them on and let them spread their wings naturally. I don't think I've ever had to tell anyone that your position isn't available anymore.
Yep.
Obviously, I just lost, probably not a good word, but my 2IC moved on to Mowbray Golf Club
Okay.
a couple of months ago. So, which is great move for him. And I noticed that the Riverside jobs came up yesterday. So Launceston, obviously, they must be a little bit shorter up there at the moment. But it's just good to see these people move through from apprentices to 2IC or foreman, and then be their own superintendent. It's great to see.
Absolutely.
And Tassie's got getting a real good reputation of young superintendents. You've got just Tommy Filtness at Kingston Beach, which is another little great track, and Tom North obviously just got the job at Royal Hobart.
Yes.
Mac Blaisley at Launceston Golf Club's just about to host his third Tassie Open.
Wow.
And these guys are all, I know Tom and Mac are definitely well under 30, and
Yep.
Tom Filtness would be early 30s, probably late 20s. You're going to kill me for that because I actually don't know. I shouldn't have named any numbers, but just really positive. With all these young supers coming through, because I know, 10 years ago, I was talking to Phil Hill and the like, and we're saying, who's coming through, who's going to be the next bunch of managers, like we're old fellas now, and luckily we, a little bit of investment in the industry and to get some people coming through that want to make it a career and stick with them and reward them. I think it's certainly made a difference, and I think that TSCMA's had a huge role in that for sure.
That's the Tasmanian Sports
Turf Managers Association.
Yep,
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. No, that's great to hear. Is there any little knack there, mate, that you mentioned? You getting them a lot of young people out of school to become apprentices. Is there any knack that you guys do in particular, or to be able to do that? Because I know some people have tried those things and it doesn't really work. Is it a Tassie thing as well? Because there's a lot of golf around.
Yeah, look, as much as I'm not even though my wife's a social media guru, we do have our own country club page and our turf page, and I think we have a real history of employing cricketers, believe it or not, even though I know nothing about preparing cricket wickets, although I get asked all the time. I think the local sporting clubs, they're really close here, and it's always someone that knows someone. I don't know whether I've advertised a couple of times when I've been reasonably short, but I've always got someone, messaging saying if you ever have anything coming up, do that, and we get them out for a trial. So
okay.
Have never really been short staffed. I wouldn't assume, like really struggled for staff. So I think the local sporting clubs is probably the key to it. The kids that come out of there, if they've been around a sporting club, they're used to working in a team or as a team, and I think that's probably a really good way to go.
Yeah, okay. No, very good, mate. Very that's something that we can continue to look into more to try and help ourselves out in other parts of the country. Mate, one question I didn't ask, which I do like to hear for anyone listening, is back at Devonport Country Club on course, mate. Is there anywhere that's somewhere a real favourite spot of yours that people might not have thought of or might not really see that much? Somewhere that you really enjoy, just where it looks, how it feels, anywhere in particular?
Yeah, so 10 green, behind 10 green of a morning as the sun comes up is my spot. I really love down there. So you get to see the northern end of the golf course. You got the river behind you, and then you can look out over the bowling greens and croquet. You see the whole lot from there, and you're looking at the back of the indoor centre. Yeah, as the sun comes up to your left, it's a magic place to be, and it's always we start at 5:30. Super quiet there every morning. We've got an RV park. Everyone's asleep, so that's definitely the spot for me for sure.
Very, very nice, mate. One probably final question, if I can, Craig, is what's the future look like for Devonport Country Club and for yourself in terms of greenkeeping? Is many things on the horizon there?
Oh, look, well, Devonport will stick to the master plan. We'll be just churning through that as we can. We really get that construction going and turn it back into a championship course, if you like.
Yep.
Personally, mate, I've got a bit of a taste for. I went to Pinehurst last year and volunteered, and heading back to Oakmont this year.
Stop it.
So going to volunteer over there. I just did the Australian Open with Hayden at Kingston Heath.
Wow.
Last year, that was my second time there. So looking forward to if you have me back for the President's Cup in 28, and really want to make a habit of getting overseas and doing these big tournaments. So I get a massive thrill out of it. Pinehurst was just sensational, and you talk about Kingston Heath being a great course. That's Kingston Heath on steroids. It's just the footprint of that area is just insane. And look, I wouldn't certainly, when I've achieved what I want to achieve at Devonport, I certainly wouldn't mind probably one more job before I hand the tools in. Whether that's over Bass Strait or international, I don't know. I would really like to. It's not easy to work in America, especially now, but. Yeah, I certainly feel like I've got a lot still to do at Devonport, and when I get to that stage, I think I'll know it.
Yep.
And I'll see what the options are then. But I've got 4 girls, so I really need to get them through school and get them out of the nest, and then we'll have a look and see what's on offer from then on. But yeah, I would. Anywhere. It could be anywhere, Steve, to be fair.
Could be anywhere. Who knows? Mate, you mentioned there doing the international stuff, volunteering at tournaments. You get a kick out of it. What is the kick? Because I'm hearing that it's almost addictive once you get going in some of these tournaments that you've got to go. You've got to keep going.
It is. It was really surreal. Like I got a really good job at Pinehurst just doing quality control, which means walking around looking important and not doing much at all, really.
What a gig. That's a good one to have.
Yeah, so you get a radio and you just go around checking everyone else's work. But just standing on the first tee at Pinehurst at 4 o'clock in the morning, pitch black dark with the clubhouse lights on, and that was it. And you're just taking a photo of the first tee sign.
Wow.
And it takes you from the fair barn, which where our meeting room was, although it's only probably a 10-minute walk, it took you 20 minutes to get there in a gator to get around all the infrastructure.
Yeah, right.
Just massive, 125 greenkeepers from mostly America. There was I made some really good contacts in the UK, and there was a guy from New Zealand that I connected with there. I think I was the only Australian there, which was a bit surreal because I think there's 4 or 5 of us going to Oakmont.
Right.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. There's 220 greenkeepers there.
What?
So, yeah, that's 100 more than Pinehurst, and I didn't think it got any bigger than that.
200? What could you possibly be doing with that many? I don't know.
I assume we'll be trimming bunker edges with scissors if we got that many. But yeah, no, it's extremely addictive. And as soon as I got off the plane back to the conference, I was planning the next trip. So
Wow.
I think St Andrews probably for the Open would be on my list as well.
That's mate. That's very, very impressive to hear that's where you're going and that's what you've been part of. That's what you've experienced. It's I'm hearing more and more of it.
I think if you're at your trade, you really want we want to experience the best, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
And it doesn't get any bigger than a US Open or dare I say it, the Masters one day. But it was certainly a thrill and plenty of time to. I'm a bit of a golf tragic, so spent plenty of time to watch some golf and talk to the Australian players, and it was great.
Bloody hell, that's unreal. What was your? I got to ask you, what was your first big one that you did overseas?
No, that was it. So that was
Okay.
it. I got that when I got the excellence in golf course management.
Yep.
Obviously, you get a prize for that, and
just drop that one in. You won. What was that? Well, you got to tell us that one. The excellence in golf course management. That was last year, wasn't it?
Year before.
Year before.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it was the year before.
That was the ASTMA awards.
Yes, yeah. So won that one. So yeah, that sort of opened a few doors for me, and really, like, LinkedIn's your friend if you want to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, okay.
No one's out of bounds. You can message anyone, and obviously once you get your foot in the door doing one, it certainly makes it a lot easier. Obviously that award helped me get into the US Open, and once you do one, you're sort of away.
Yep.
So that if anyone gets a chance to do that, I can't recommend it highly enough. So, but yeah, be aware that it's going to put a hole in your finances because airfares are not cheap, and I've got to take. I shouldn't say I've got to take. I would love to take my wife and kids with me this week.
This
year. So, she, obviously I can't do what I do without her. So she very rarely sees me. We're like passing ships in the night.
Yep.
Obviously with the 3 courses and everything else, it's
sure.
Takes a toll on your personal life, but if you can, look forward to those trips and get them to share in it, it's certainly very worthwhile.
Unreal. Mate, Craig, what a great way to finish the conversation on a high with hearing about those stories of being on course volunteering at some of the biggest events in the world and where you're going to next, mate. It's fantastic. Mate, can I say congratulations on your career there in Tassie as a greenkeeper in Devonport, what you've achieved there, and with the other courses locally as well, being able to help lift the game of those other couple of golf courses that you help look after under the umbrella of Devonport. And, mate, all the young people that you're bringing through and the way that you do your work there. And, mate, really great insight to hear from yourself and also what's happening down there in Tassie, mate. So, Craig, thank you so much for being on the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast and Keeper of the Greens. I really appreciate your time and sharing all those wonderful insights to Tassie golf that hopefully we'll get a few more people heading down there and maybe discovering not just Devonport but also places like Ulverston that are the well unknowns. We might see some few more people around. Craig, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Cheers, Steve. Enjoyable. Thanks, mate.
What a fantastic chat that was with Superintendent Craig Walker at Devonport Country Club down in Tasmania. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig is a fantastic individual, and I had an absolute ripper of a time having a yarn with him. And we talked about a few different topics there, as you heard, which was just brilliant. Craig is just so cool in the way that he delivers a conversation, isn't he? And the work that they're looking forward to doing on course with the enhancement plan of the golf course there, the master planning, as Craig was talking about, but also the other golf courses that they look after in Ulverston, which is just fantastic. And how much does he love doing the volunteering at the big tournaments, going over to the US Open just last year and being involved over there. And also, wow, just the way that he talks about those golf courses, that experience overseas, being in those major tournaments, and he's done some work here, as he mentioned, at the Australian Open at Kingston Heath with Superintendent Hayden Mead. He loves that, and you've heard me talk about that in the past with a couple of other guests that I've had involved on the podcast on John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens, where they talk about, particularly obviously recently with Josh Smith over in the UK, who's just been at TPC Sawgrass. I mean, people who are attending these events, and even the Women in Turf program, they were down, the buzz that they got down at doing the WebEx Players Series down there at Cobram Barooga Golf Club. They just get a buzz out of doing tournament, and it's just the next level stuff. So really interesting to hear that stuff, ladies and gentlemen. It even gets me excited. I've not done it. I just love going and watching and following these tournaments. But getting out there on the ground, it just sounds absolutely incredible to be involved with those teams, being at those golf courses, and yeah, just sensational. Look, ladies and gentlemen, lots of clickables in the show notes on this one. There are plenty of the previously unknown golf courses that Craig talked about in Tasmania that we now know of. So if you're out there playing golf and you're looking for some games to play in Tasmania, or you want to go and look at some golf courses, you've heard there's a list of a few there, and I've got them all in the show notes so you can click on them for quick links to go and see where they are, what they are, and who they are. And golf courses that you may want to, like I said, put on your list when you're down there playing golf in Tassie, or if you're a local in Tassie and you're going around looking for new places to experience and enjoy, go and check out some of the golf courses that Craig mentioned. I've got them all in the show notes. There's too many to list. I don't even know half of them. Ulverston stands out, obviously, as one. And yeah, really, really impressive stuff. So thank you, Craig, for all that insight and for walking us through your career, mate. Fantastic career. Congratulations. And really appreciated your time. I hope everyone out there, ladies and gentlemen, you all got a kick out of that one, because I certainly did as well. As always, it's great to talk to so many different people right around the country, and getting back into Tasmania is sensational. So that is the third one that I've recorded with people down in working on courses in Tasmania. Previously, Phil Hill from Barnbugle. You can go back through the back catalogue of the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast to find that episode with my very first recording with Keeper of the Greens episode. And thank you to Phil for that one, of course. And also Sean Bowden when he was superintendent at Royal Hobart. So thank you to Sean. And now I've got Craig Walker having been on. And we tick off Devonport, but also Ulverston and Point Sorrel. So fantastic, Craig. And really good to be able to add yourself and those courses to the list of Tassie insight that we've got and that we've received, and looking forward to adding more in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, please like, share and subscribe, and also, if you wouldn't mind, a review. Reviews are the best way to get the podcast around to people, to more people to listen and get insights of the golf courses right around Australia, and now a couple overseas and international, but and also the people behind them. That's the important part here, is it's people. It's people like you and me, as you've heard in every one of these conversations that I've had, the openness that every guest has been gracious enough to give to not only me, but ultimately to you, the audience, is just so fantastic. And I'm really humbled by that, because I get lots of comments from people, lots of feedback from people, be it contacting me on social media or even text messages that say, hey, Steve, that was a really fantastic interview. Doesn't matter which one it was. And the way that the guests are opening up and talking about their stories so well. And I really do appreciate that. It allows everyone to be able to connect and relate so much better when the guests of the podcast speak from the heart. And it really does make a difference. So thank you to everyone who continues to be involved, everyone who's been involved in the past as a guest, and everyone who continues to be involved as a guest on the podcast, because it really does mean a lot to me and to the audience, in the way that you are all just like all of us. Doesn't matter what level of golf course you're working at, what role you have in the golf world, in the golf industry, whether it be greenkeeping and keeper of the greens or an architect or the like. It's just, we're all people, and it's great to be able to listen deep and connect with you on that level. So I really do thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I continue to do so. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And it's those reviews that make a difference. Reviews, star ratings, sharing it around, passing it around, that make a difference to everyone who continues to be involved, and the new people that come on to listen to all these episodes and get a great insight to Australian golf courses. And that's what the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast is all about. Check out my socials. You can stay connected on the socials and follow what I'm up to, where I'm going, what I'm doing, who I'm talking to, what golf courses I'm seeing, and also get a little bit of extra insight to the podcast episode. So I'm going to have clickable links to my social media accounts there that you can follow me on as well, in Instagram and Facebook and also LinkedIn, and where you can also, just like I talk about, there's some photos and sometimes videos of the things that we're discussing and some of the episodes on the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you also to John Deere Golf partnering with this segment of the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast, being Keeper of the Greens. Make sure you check out their website for further information about their fantastic GPS spray units and the reps that you need to hit up local to you to get more information and even check out these wonderful units in the GPS sprayers. Deere.com.au, deere.com.au. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with it one more time. You hit them clean, we'll keep them green. I'll catch up with you very soon.